that you can get here this way. But, Paul, I want to ask you about another scenario that we've looked at, and this is tied into the news cycle today. We know that the Washington Times has reported on militias that are gathering on the border. Customs and Border Protection said in a statement that it does not endorse or support any private group or organization from taking matters into their own hands, as it could have disastrous personal and public safety consequences. What happens to both border security and also the political debate around it if we see an incident where U.S. citizens who go to the border legally armed get involved in some kind of a firefight, perhaps with either the cartels or with the Mexican military, which has been known to violate U.S. airspace and the U.S. border on a pretty regular basis? If some sort of a violent incident like that happens, where do you see this discussion going? What do you think the policy follow-on to that is?
Disastrous, of course. I think immediately the president, who is trying to pretend this is not an issue that he has to worry about, and it's probably one of the most serious things he's going to face in his whole presidency, other than Iran getting a bomb, is exactly what you described. And I think that he will act very quickly. He will move to separate. There'll be call up on the National Guard. There'll be all kinds of things that happen because it only takes a hothead on one side or the other. It could be on the Mexican side. It could be on the militia side, and it certainly could be one of the cartels. So I think it forces the president's hand. It forces a very bipartisan reaction in Congress to immediately do something. And to Tara's point, I mean, there is a reality of a long line of troops that separate people if it really comes to that. That's certainly better than the shooting back and forth.
Yeah, that's actually a scenario that I feared coming to pass. I've had interactions with Twitter followers and conversations with people who say, well, if the government's not going to do it, then we have to go down there and mobilize and do it ourselves. And I fear that scenario. I think that's very dangerous. I am worried that these kinds of things create civil war. This is how revolutions start, and when the government isn't doing something, people feel they have to. And you already see that bubbling up in places like Marietta, California, and even the Minutemen movement back in '06 and '07. There wasn't any violence there, but people felt compelled to have to do something. The last time we saw an influx in people coming across the border wasn't like this to this extent, but it was the last time we were talking about amnesty, and there was an influx in '06 and '07.
I think we all have there are